So in this tutorial we're going to follow on from the last Mass Effects tutorial where we've got a sphere and we've got a kinematic rigid body type on it. So the sphere at the moment I have set up to animate going through the wall here, and we want to shatter this wall. We don't just want to knock it over. So rather than just slapping a dynamic rigid body onto it, I'm going to use a script that will break it up into shatterable sections. So there's a script you can download from ScriptSpot called Voronoi Fracture. And if we just go back in here, you can Google it, Voronoi Fracture. It's Voronoi cells, Fracture Voronoi, and you can download it as a Max script. This is the version that you download. So you copy that script into your C program files, Autodesk 3ds Max scripts folder, and you can then use it to break up any object into fairly randomly broken sections. So with the wall selected here, I'm going to go up to the top of my panel where under scripting, I'm going to select run script, and if Voronoi Fracture or Fracture Voronoi is in your scripts folder, you can open it and this will bring up your dialog box. So first thing we need to do is click on pick object, which is the wall here. We can specify the number of parts we want to break it into. So I'm going to break it into 30 parts and click on break in to 30. And you can see there it's done a good job. If I press F4, you can see we've got our 30 parts. Now I'd already applied a material to these pieces so that we can see that the bits are all set up okay. Let's also maybe go where the ball is hitting directly. So let's go to the sections where it gets a direct hit, and I'm going to type in maybe 10 parts and click on select this box and break in 10. Do the same with the one above it. Select this box and break in 10. So you can create complex arrangements of broken down shapes. Now all of these pieces of wall we want to convert into dynamic rigid bodies. So let's go and do that. Try that again. So set selected as dynamic rigid body. Now if I run my simulation right now, we can see the ball goes through them, knocks them all down really nicely. However, if we were to look at that more closely, the wall pieces start to collapse just before the ball hits. The reason being that by separating it into different sections, they have a sense of gravity and friction off each other. So what we need to do in order to tell them not to collapse until such time as the kinematic body hits them is to select all of our sections. We're going to open our Mass Effects properties, and there is a little checkbox start in sleep mode. If we turn that on, now nothing will happen until the kinematic rigid body comes and knocks them over. So let's play our simulation and we get that nice collapse. So obviously in this case they're looking a bit more like polystyrene than solid concrete, so we could go in and change those object properties. So in the object properties we've got presets, say concrete, and we can apply those. So we can also make this a bit more interesting in other ways. So let's say maybe increase the velocity of that sphere. So let's take the sphere. So this is a kinematic rigid body. I'm going to go to that first keyframe with auto key turned on and pull it back further, which should set up a greater velocity. Maybe we'll go to the final keyframe and again move that back a little bit. So the velocity should be greater. Let's try our simulation now. And that definitely looks better. There she goes. And as before, if we want to bake that simulation, we go to our Mass Effects properties, go to our playback controls, click on Bake All, and we've got our animation. We can now play it in real time. Bear in mind that the screen recording that I have is a bit slow, so you're probably not getting a good view of the animation, but let's just play it. So no longer am I using the simulation controls playback, I'm using my regular play controls down here, or press the question mark on your number pad or on your keypad. Let's try that once more. There she goes. We now have a nice simulation, and that looks good.